Yesterday. Noon even. Yes, it's almost 1 p.m. here. And I'm going to fix what I did yesterday. Of course, I think I made up a way to do this. Let me first look at the git diff to see what I did yesterday. Okay, so this test only sets textures once, aka initially. Therefore, it should not need this flag. I mean, if I even need it in that case, then I would have to set it always, which is kind of ridiculous. But that then means that this combined image sampler must be updated before we bind it, otherwise we get a validation error. And just in order of the diff, as soon as this update happens, we do a call to update done, which should somehow signal back to the pipeline factory, and that it may continue running if it was waiting for this update to happen. Namely, I made the pipeline factory wait before it releases the pipeline that it just created when the update didn't happen yet. Because as soon as I release the pipeline factory, it might be used to render, and that then would lead to the descriptor set being bound to a command buffer before it was updated, that's not possible without that flag. So yeah, of course we need to know when the update happened, and then well, we know that because this function is being called. This function is a member function of the descriptor update info object, whatever that is. And we need to send a signal to the owning factory, of course, to the pipeline factory. We can get that pipeline factory in this way. And currently I'm just sending a signal, and that's incorrect, so I'll fix it. Okay, then I introduce a new state for the pipeline factory. That's the point where it has to wait for before it releases the new pipeline to the to the synchronous window that will start using it to render. Maybe the diff is not very easy to read. This is just an indentation change. Nevertheless, this is the function that creates a shader resource, the combined image sampler, and then initiates the process of having it bound to the corresponding descriptor set as well. However, it's possible that it either returns true or false, and if it returns false, then we will re-enter at the top. So this function can be called multiple times, during which it might or might not initiate one or more, or zero or more actually, well, update request. We'll see that later how that works, I guess. Here is the pipeline is being created. And now we get the point where we have to wait. And I wrote a very long story here, sorry, about how this can go wrong, where the wait and the signal miss each other, although extremely unlikely. But I'm going to fix that as well, so that's no longer the case, and I can delete all of this text. Anyway, so what we need to do here is optionally wait. I think I'm going to always wait. That is my solution on that signal, and then only once we get the signal, it should be safe to continue running this new state, which then releases the pipeline. Pipeline is this thing, and we move it to the owning window somewhere, somehow. It's anyway, these lines are doing it. It's doing that. Okay, so a new signal, just a single bit somewhere. And that's the end of the diff. So the new state, and then finally I keep my unique pipeline that is created now as a member in the object, because we have to leave the function that we were in above, that the multiplex implementation that runs the state machine of this task, because you have to wait. So the pipeline is created and then stored here, and then we might have to leave the scope, leave the whole function, and later come back when we can stop waiting that the signal is received, and then we'll use it. So it could no longer be a local object. I also have an atomic counter that counts the number of combined image sampler updaters. So that is the object that is going to update the combined image sampler, or rather the descriptor with that combined image sampler. So this should be incremented until that done function is being called. I haven't incremented it anywhere yet. Okay, so it's totally incomplete. Let's think. Hi, Arthur. Welcome back, I think. You are the Arthur, right? It depends. It's Vulkan is an investment. It will cost you a lot more time, I think, and it is very difficult to learn, I think. I think that in the end, the best way to use it is by using a Vulkan engine that someone else wrote. But I'm not sure there's already a good Vulkan engine out there that you could use. So, yeah, if you think that in the future you want to, become a low-level graphics designer that has experience in Vulkan, then that might be worth it. I don't know, but if you're just wanting to output some graphics, get something going fast-ish, then I think OpenGL is probably better. It's a faster return on investment. So I realized that myself too. You know, I knew that OpenGL is old, but it's just what you have to learn if you want to do graphics. And there's loads of tutorials and everything. While Vulkan is new and very, very difficult. But that's exactly the reason why I started with Vulkan. Because I like difficult. So I'm not really, you know, I'm not really having any kind of deadline or I would almost say desire to get graphics on my screen. I just want to work on something that is very difficult. Okay, my pipeline factory should I can use one of the other weights as example. So this one waits for characteristics field. Let's say I search that, and there is a signal being sent here also from pipeline factory.cxx. And that is done from a function that decrements a counter. And then when that counter becomes 0, we do the signal. And I want to have the same. I'm going to need the same function that does the same thing, but then for our new signal. I think this is a good place to put it. It's not really the combined image sampler that you update, it's really the descriptor set. So let's say descriptor set updated. But we are specifically talking about updating it with the combined image sampler, but well, I mean, not waste time into waste time on thinking too long about names. Yeah. I'm programming with a mouse. See that? Okay, now I need my new atomic. That's the counter. So I edit. I already see it. Here it is. And then we do the fetch up, query release, and then we send the signal. And that's the new signal, which is that one. So it's sort of a copy paste, but then it's just a little bit different. And I need to add it to the header, the declaration. What was I using? DW, I think. DWXX, yeah. Good. You could do 2D, no, D2F colon, but also for characters, and it's all over the keyboard. Descriptor set updated. Yeah, okay, so now we also need to increment this counter. I can only know that I want that I can only increment it when I know that I will go call that function, right? I mean, you increment it and then later you have to decrement it. They must be 100% in balance. I'm thinking about if I can increment it before I do this, or rather if I can do it afterwards, because that's not complicated. If it would increment the, oh yeah, well now skipping ahead. My solution was to increment the counter from this pipeline factory, and then independent of what the other code is doing with it, it will never reach 0. Unless we get here. And then I decrement it, so then I know for sure that the pipeline factory is running at the moment the signal is received. Namely, the signal will never be sent unless we decrement it again. So we can increment it here, then we do something that nobody understands. That might or might not increment the counter and might or might not decrement it again. But at the very least, we know that it will not send signals. And then when we get here, I decrement the counter again. And then if the counter would have been 0 as a result of a balance between increment and decrements as a result of calling this function, we would send the signal immediately. But that is okay at this point, even though it's before the wait, because the pipeline factory is already running. So while the pipeline factory is running, it is allowed to do a signal before the wait. Well, normally, of course, intuitively you would expect to start waiting and then wait for the signal to wake up. But it also works in the light of a little bit of a race condition. So if the signal is sent here and then later we do the wait, and that still combines. It's just a counter that's being incremented and decremented. So now, well, not really a counter, by the way. It's more complex than that, but you can think of it like that. I think it involves 2 bits. Well, let's not get into the specifics of the stateful task, which is very, very complex in itself. The problem is of course here that this function might return false, and then we get here, and then we have to wait for that signal. And we will get back here. So if we would do the increment of the counter at this point, and then I can just do the decrement here, and there's no problem. But what happens if I do the increment here, and then this function increments it again or not, and then returns false? If I then just return without decrementing my counter, then we will re-enter at this point, and I might increment it again. So that would not be a nice point to increment it. I'll probably have to increment it before I enter this state here. If you increment it before entering this state, then we just increment it once. And then if we return here, we just enter at this point again. So we miss the second increment, and it's just incremented once. And we might loop like entering here, returning here, entering here, returning here, entering here, returning here, until we do not return, but we skip here. And now we still have only incremented once, and then I can decrement it here. I think that's what we should do. Yeah, definitely what we should do. So how can we get here? Well, clearly we can get here by fall through, but we might also be able to get here from, yeah, like the normal case that we get here after the return. I mean, this is just the case of a switch. The switch is near the top of this function. Where we now are we in? So if this function is called and the state is set to this state, then the switch jumps to this point immediately. And if that happens, then I would still have to catch it. So let's see where exactly we set the state to that. Yeah, state. I think that's the only place here, set state. Fall through. Yep, that's the only place. So we can only get here for the first time by falling through. So it would be safe to increment the counter here. Increment, what is the counter? But okay, we also need to increment it from the outside. I might as well call that function here instead of doing it here. So this call is The call is a promise to call the other function, which I forgot the name of course. I think I already have that. This one. It's a promise to call DescriptorSet updated. I'm just going to add it here, I think. I don't like the name though. Nah. So acquire release needed here. No, no, I don't think so. I just want to add one. So no synchronization required at all with anything else, except of course with the decrement, but that's always guaranteed anyway, because it's a read modify write operation. Well, that's a good sentence. It was a good name here for this function. How about begin? Beginning. It's more like the caller is doing it, right? So the caller calls updating the descriptor set. That is like, hey, I'm updating the descriptor set. But from this point of view, it looks like this function is doing that. Or, I don't know. Oh yeah, well now I'm thinking about names again. Too long maybe. Let's go with this one. Yeah, now I have to find back where I was. If I had a little bit of memory, I could remember what I typed last and then just grab for that. But no. Okay, so it should be impossible to not get here at this point. Because we call this function, we fall through, we execute this. If it returns true, then we get here. If it does not return true, then we return, and that means that this thing is still running. And we'll get here again, and again, and again, and again, until we get here. So we always get here once, this point, and then we should never get here again, of course. I don't think that is the case, but let's make sure. So we go down and then create a pipeline. And then the state is changed here, set state. And then we do a return, which means that after that we continue here, or we fall through and continue here. So yeah, it's really the end. So it's a one-time execution after this point. So here I can simply do, and now I've got the name again, of course, plus we jump to a different file. Get so tired of that. C tags. Oh wait, I actually remember it. It's called updated. Okay, so now we have our signal at this point, or we will get it later. It's not possible that the signal, we will only get one, of course, was sent while we were outside of this function, not waiting for it. And that then means that here we simply always have to wait for it. So this whole part can be deleted. And I don't have to test that, simply always wait for it and return. Unfortunately, that means that we never fall through, so it's slightly less efficient. Wait for the combined image samplers that do not have the descriptor binding flag bits. The update of the bind bit set to have been updated before passing critical, otherwise it will. Yeah, okay. So that's for the wait. So yeah, I think that should do it in terms of the waiting. Now all that is left that I have to call start and update it when that is actually being done. So we enter this function. That function at the end calls, well, not just at the end, also somewhere in the middle, that is and then return false, or here and then return true. In both cases anyway, we get what we'll get here, that is that function, which then I believe at the end, not at the end, okay, somewhere. Yeah, well, find that back. I wrote it in Discord. Is it still here? Yeah. This is the one. The corresponding HaveNewDatum is called from combined image sampler update descriptor set, which in turn is called from pipeline factory allocate update add handles and unlocking. That's where I am now, right? So if I search for update descriptor set, there it is, that one. So this call calls HaveNewDatum. Now note that here we create a new object, the descriptor update info, which is then moved to HaveNewDatum. Let me first do the call to update it. I guess I have to look for that. Oh, I missed it. This calls update descriptor sets, but I remember now vaguely that, yeah, this is the one. Yeah, we are only interested in the case where the update is a descriptor update info, which is only returning true if it is a descriptor update info, tada, surprisingly. And that's what we are creating here. So I should only say that we're done. You know, when this object was created, it's only created here. So whenever this object is created, then we will end up here after calling this in HaveNewDatum. That causes us to get here. And then at the end of this scope here, we call UpdateDone. So that was already in place. Yeah, so we have to follow the UpdateDone then. And that was this one. Yeah. And then instead of calling doing the signal immediately, we have to call descriptor set updated. Which then decrements that counter and sends the signal when we reach 0. Now, note that we get here a boost intrusive pointer to that created object, descriptor update info object, and it was moved here, right? So this update here is well, after we received it, an L reference, which will be destructed if we leave this scope here. Here we just get a pointer, so we're not really destructing anything yet. But at the end of this, if after calling this update done, we go all the way here, and that's the end of the lambda. So then we leave the function and destruct this update. So almost immediately after we destruct this object. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe I should just do it from the destructor, because immediately afterwards yeah, I'm not sure. We normally would say want to do something like that if there is a chance that we throw this object away. I would say we never get here for some reason. But I really insist that my counter is decremented because it's part of a pipeline factory that might still keep running. This is just one thing. The combined image sampler update is related to one combined image sampler. Maybe that's aborted or something goes wrong. So it feels more safe to use the destructor, plus it has almost the same effect or a better effect. So let me change this so at least the comment stays. The pipeline factory is informed that this update has been executed from the destructor of descriptor update info. Yeah, well, of update. I know. I mean, this is destructed, but hell, it's that type, right? So by the destructor of the object, but I cannot type object because then it's too long. And I'm going to put that in the destructor. I think that the update done is, yeah, is here. Might as well just make this the destructor. I'll get rid of the whole, oops, update done thing. I think update done was called, yeah. I always use a boost intruder pointer. I think it's way better than the shared pointer. I don't like shared pointer at all. I don't use shared pointer. The main reason being, I keep forgetting the reason, but I think the reason was that boost intruder pointer allows you to go to a normal pointer. So you have the boost intruder pointer and then you extract a normal pointer from it, maybe pass that to a function. And so you have only just a normal pointer to the object, and then you want to go back to a boost intruder pointer. That's possible. You just recreate a boost intruder pointer from that pointer, which then will increment the reference count again. And you cannot do that with a shared pointer, which I really hate. So it's less safe in that sense. So I think that a lot of other professional C++ coders think that you should use shared pointer because it's more safe. But in my eyes, it's not about safeness, because safe here means protecting against stupidity of the programmer. And that's yeah. I consider myself not to make errors like that. So I'm aware of lifetimes and race conditions and stuff like that. So I don't know. I have other ways to protect myself, definitely. I mean, all my libraries are almost written for that. You know, they're trying to protect the user from making mistakes, definitely. But then still, the boost intruder pointer, if used correctly, gives me more flexibility and power, I think. Maybe I would not expose it too much to the user, or actually I am. All my tasks are boost intruder pointers. But yeah, in the documentation, the little that I wrote says that you have to create tasks exactly like that. You know, I mean, now we're talking about users using my library and then making a stupid mistake because they're not me. If you get what I mean. I mean, it's many users, so there's always someone going to be stupid. Oops. So we wrote documentation. No, not that. Stateful task is linked. I thought it wasn't linked. So creating a task. This is writing a task. It's not what I want. Okay, I'm still allowing to use a normal pointer to a task. But, okay, so what you usually should do is use this. Stateful task create, which then returns a boost intrusive pointer. So you can do auto task is stateful task create. But yeah, I mean, come on. If you make that kind of mistake, then you cannot use the library anyway. So you're just too stupid in my eyes. I mean, that kind being that you get a boost into. Let's say you would do my task pointer task equals this. You know, like that wouldn't even work. That wouldn't work. No, I don't know. So you would have to do this, maybe with an auto, and then convert that to my task. So then you do my task becomes my task.get to get the actual pointer. And then destruct the boost into the pointer by going out of scope and then still using that pointer. So now you have a dangling pointer. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you do that, then why are you programming C++? You know? I mean, I don't really believe in protection against stupidity. It's just, it's not my main goal, you know. There are other things that are more important. My emphasis is definitely more on speed. I want things to be fast, even if that demands that, let's say, the user has to work harder to make less mistakes. But once I have maximum speed, I will try hard to make the interface as easy as possible, but not easier, you know. And yes, I forgot what I was doing. Gotta be kidding me. Undo? Oh, wait. Yeah, I deleted update done. Okay. I wanted to add a destructor here. I did. And then let's add a constructor as well, and just put both of them in the .cxx file. So now my destructor does this work. And the constructor, almost the same thing. Except that we call the start. So this makes it pretty clear, I think, that these things are balanced, right? For every object that you create, you call start. Every object that you create will be destructed exactly once. So for every start, we will call update. They are balanced. And that's pretty important, I think. So this is also, you know, it's a safety, maybe against stupidity-ish, but it's a good thing in this case. I mean, there's no reason to make it harder than necessary to use code, of course. So this would even keep working in the light of exceptions that are being thrown and stuff like that. That being said, maybe I should add stuff like this does not throw an exception. I'm not good with that. No, I never learned that. So I do use exceptions, but I'm not into the business of telling the compiler which exceptions are being thrown, or that a certain function is a no throw function and stuff like that. I just don't know how to do that or when to do that. Maybe I should do that. I just really have no clue what the effect would be. Like a no throw, something like this. No throw or something. There's something else these days. I think they replaced the no throw with something else. I don't even know it. I did look into it a little bit. I thought that you do not get that much speed up, and sometimes you get even a slow down if you add that information. But I'm far from an expert in it, so I just don't know. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that now my counter is being incremented, if it compiles anyway. And then if things still work, then it's also decremented, right? Otherwise we would never get my signal. And then it would wait indefinitely. So it kind of tests itself, I think. Descriptor set update started. I thought this was my rename, right? Maybe it's caused by that error. Just, nope, it wasn't. What? Did I do that again? Unbelievable. I think I should split my C tags into two different parts. I think you can catenate the result of C tags, because running C tags started to take a long time. I could just run it on the Vulkan files, and then everything else is just static. Or maybe you can add multiple C tag files to your editor. I'm just setting tags to this file. Maybe it's possible to add more than one file. That would be nice, I think. Descriptor set update start. Yeah. Oh, I never wrote that. That's annoying. Or not. Okay, let's begin with looking how many editors I have open. Nothing anymore. Then we go back here. It is highlighted. In that case, I guess I just never added it to the header file. Not enough sleep. What is going on here? I think we can safely say that it does not work. The queue is full, so I think something is hanging, blocking everything. Interesting. Codem seems to be unrelated. I mean, if it's hanging, it's hanging, and we just get a flute of the queue is full. But then we get this. That means I have a fuzzy boolean that I wrote, which is just a boolean, but it's a boolean that tells the programmer, me, what kind of boolean it is. Namely, let's say you read something that is true or false, and then if it is false, you know that it will stay false. So you can just yawn and look the other way and then look back and it's still false. But if you read true, it only was true, and it could become false at any moment. And that is, it's easier to have that hard-coded in your code than, with type 70 and all than having to write comments and keep track of it in your mind all the time. So it just helps me. And this means that I converted a fuzzy bool to a normal boolean, while it was not either non-changing true or false. If I convert a fuzzy bool to a normal boolean, then it must be always true or always false, and not possibly changing to a different value. Because, yeah. But is that what the comment says here? Only use this conversion to a boolean when the value is certain. So we have also fuzzy was true and fuzzy was false, meaning that the moment we measured it, it was true or false, but maybe it changed in the meantime. But of course that's useless unless we know where we were being called from. So I guess I'll try running it in the debugger to get a stack trace. Yeah, and then it works. Don't you hate that? Let's hope we can reproduce it. Working again. It doesn't look like we can reproduce it, at least not in the debugger. Maybe outside the debugger. Thank God, in the debugger. There's an example. It's just a boolean, so it's always just two values. But if the handle can expire, then has expired was false. But it can still expire, so it has not expired yet. So has expired is false. But obviously it was false, because at the moment we return it could already be true. It could already have expired. While if it can no longer expire, then yeah, that's it. That's it. It just cannot expire anymore. Period. So in that case, we return the other way around. If it has expired, then it hasn't. Okay. Now I'm getting confused myself, because the way I explained it and the way I would expect it is that expiring means that it is expired, right? So I would say it is there's also a true. Sorry, that's the thing. Okay, if it has expired, then it has expired. It's not a was true, but it's just true. It cannot suddenly unexpire. And okay, so this says it has not expired yet, and it cannot expire. Then it will never expire. If it can expire as false, then we can return false, because it will never expire. It did not expire, and it can no longer expire, so it has not expired. But if it has not expired yet, so this is false, but it can still expire, then we return was false, because it might still expire. That's the reason here, I guess. And then this is the result is apparently converted to a normal boolean, and apparently we return was false here. So and then it goes wrong, because then you throw away that it was false, as opposed to just false. But I didn't see the conversion to the bool yet, I have to say. Maybe if we go up one more. Don't tell me that can expire is the one. Can expire is converted to boolean here as well. Let's see what that is. Yeah? Oh. part of a different library. Can expire returns are visible. Aha, so yeah, I cannot use can expire at that point in that way. Can expire returns either was true or false. So if it returns was true, then I cannot use it in that question mark colon operator. Okay, so it's not certain if can expire returns true, then it's not certain that it still can expire when we process the return value. Because in the meantime, it might, I guess, either expire or no longer being able to expire. That would be a bit vague though. I need to know the reason why it might become false. I don't think this can change back to undefined. So if we return this, then this was true, meaning that this was false, meaning that this was not undefined, and I don't think that will change, right? I mean, that seems a safe assumption. Therefore, this will stay true. So if we go from was true to false, then it's this one that has to change. So the only reason that we can change from true to false is when this goes from true to false. In other words, when this goes from 0 to non-zero. And that happens when in a billion cases. Without documentation. But okay, really I only need to know when 0 is put into it. Apparently 0 is put into it after a call to initialize. And that was 0, so it is initialized. And this one puts, or tries to put as expire called first into it, which is non-zero. This one tries to call, or put -3 into it. And this one puts -1 into it. So it only changes from 0 to non-zero, I would say. Or initialize must be called again, which seems unlikely. So I think that can expire means that it was initialized and no event happened yet. And then if one of the events happens, so it becomes non-zero, then it will stay that way because we're not going to change it back to 0. meaning that if this is false, then it is false and it will stay false. Okay, so we can become false. We can go from was true to false for the returned value of this function if any of these things are being called. Do call back, do call cancel, or set not running. So this thing returns was true or false, right? And false must stay false. And was true must be converted to was false. Is that not a bit confusing here? Why is that? Well, can you imagine how difficult this would be without fuzzy bool, really? Then you would just have a boolean and it's only true or false. And you would have no idea what's happening. Now at least you can reason a bit about it. So let me try to understand why. If can expire is false, then it's permanent false. So we did has expired, we did not expire yet. That's what we tried here. And we can no longer expire, so this is false. Then we did not expire and we cannot expire, so it is definitely false. It's false and it will stay false. We just did not expire, period. Therefore, false means absolutely false. But was true means that we can still expire, which means, well, if we can still expire, we didn't expire yet, so we have to return false. But since it is a was true, it might be that after we call this function, we expire anyway. And then expired should return true. So at the moment it is false, simply because we don't return true. But it might have become true before processed return value. So what I really want here is that was true is converted to was false, and false remains false. So this line is simply wrong. Can expire does not return true, it returns was true. And it's correct to convert that to was false. I think I will edit this line then. 354. So you could use this one, is transitory true, checks if it was true. But now, yeah, you can also say, well, if it was hard true, not was true, but really true, then we would have to convert it to say was it, we have to return false, and we only want to return was false when we get a was true. If we got a real true, then let's say, what was it? Can expire, right? If we get a real true for can expire, that's that's not physical. You know? it can no longer expire once it expires. So if you really would get a certain value for can expire, that means that it will not expire, because it's definitely true that it can expire. So it cannot expire in the meantime, otherwise it wouldn't be certainly true. So I'm inclined to say, you know, to take this to the extreme and say if we return a hard true, then it will not expire, and therefore we have to return false. So I only want to return was false when it is actually returning was true. So this is the correct test. Instead of momentary true. So it can be pretty hard to reason about this, but at least this way I can reason about it line by line. And then that boolean, the fuzzy boolean, traverses through my code from function to function. And it keeps the correct meaning. And without fuzzy boolean, I could not write certain pieces of code that I have written. Although, again, it's just a boolean, but a boolean which helps me keeping track of what it really means. So I think we got rid of the assert now, because it was just a, I would almost say typo. I could just not use it there. But of course, we'll still hang. Oh, that's a different thing. Or not. You never know how reproducible it is. So unfortunately, now we run into this. I'll have to debug it. What? Just PID without a P? Nope. Right, so maybe I should use this. I thought it was P. Yeah, so what was happening? We get entering task counter wait for is being printed in a float. And what does that mean? Ah, damn it, it's the same thing. It's not in this project. I have to find a thread that is doing that. I guess. No, it must be the main thread. I think info threads. think it's thread 1. No. No, it's not it. I think this one. Terminate and wait. No, we didn't even get there yet. Huh? What? Okay, let's put a breakpoint on. I don't know where it is. So I found this thing, right? Yeah, task counter 30. That prints it. To go here, break that. Continue. It is thread 4. Okay, up. Wait for certain tasks to be finished while giving CPU to possible still running synchronous tasks. Currently this wait for copy data to GPU and pipeline cache tasks. The most common reason for the latter not finishing is because not all pipeline factory tasks finished. So since the change that I just made is making pipeline factory wait for a signal that never comes, right? So that pipeline factory simply didn't change. That's why it prints this. So we have to find the pipeline factory and then see what it is doing. For threads, which is my pipeline factory? I could theoretically find that back in the debug code. I think I should just highlight pipeline factory. Pipeline factory. At the bottom, this is the last line that executed it. Created object pipeline. Oh, this is where the pipeline is created. Okay, that makes sense. And then we start waiting. I just want to have the... Oh, here it is, of course. Unknown condition. Okay. I remember though that that is our new signal. So I think this is the last time we heard from pipeline factory. It's just waiting here. Never waking up. Yeah. But at least we can find which thread it is, I guess. So that is pipeline, thread pool 05, which is thread 7. Yeah, nothing to see here. It is just... It returned to the thread pool. The thread returned to the thread pool. So it's just a task that is waiting. So this thread is not even related to the task anymore. Nope. I don't think I have any debug output about incrementing and releasing the... Or did I? I think I did it. Actually, now I think about it. What debug output did I print? Here, updated. So if I highlight this, update, We have update start and updated. And then, if only we had debug output from the very start. Well, at least we have a lot of debug. Oh, this is pretty well. I'm at the top of my scroll back now, but this is very early, so it is good enough. What I can do is I can just go up and find the highest place where this happens. And now we jump to the bottom. So this is the highest one. And then I can go down. So now we have to count. You do a call to start. It's kind of strange though, because this is not being called by the pipeline factory. Or maybe a different pipeline factory. It is a pipeline factory. Oh, I'm an idiot. I highlighted it, but now I highlight something else, so it's no longer highlighted. Let's try to remember this. This 26010, 26010. That's the pipeline factory. But this is being called from in what state am I running here? Falling through to pipeline factory initialize, blah blah blah. Let me have a look where that is. Okay, that's cool. So we fall through, and then that's the first call to descriptor set update start. This is the first call. Well, then you get another call here on a different pipeline. This is 27C50. And that one is running update missing descriptor sets. No, this is the same one. It's not a different pipeline. We're just continue running, and then we have falling through to update missing descriptor sets, which calls update missing descriptor sets. No, this is Threadpool 6. This is a different thing. Was something wrong? I don't get it. Threadpool 6 is running this state. and then calling that. Okay, I'll just have to, oops. Yeah, sorry, that was just the same thing, but a different pipeline factory. So far so good. And then we get, so the 26010 just calls updated. Doesn't seem to make sense. Here it calls allocate, update and add handles and unlogging. That's that function. Yes, that is that function. And then that thread, while inside that function, see, it actually calls update descriptor sets and then update it. What? Updated should only be called from the destructor of that object. It's calling it twice. This makes no sense. I mean, at least one of these should be from the destructor. I don't know about this one, but if there was a destructor, then there was a constructor. And there was a constructor, then I should have seen it. So I'm getting the feeling that I added it to the wrong constructor. Yeah, that's probably it. Okay, so we hang probably because the value is negative. Can I check that? Then I have to interrupt the... No, nobody is inside the task, so I cannot check that easily. I'm just going to assume that this is the case. So let's stop this. Leave this, or maybe not leave this. Stop this. And then you can edit this. It's still weird, I have to say. It is still weird. But I didn't see a call to set update start, so I'm going to assume that that is wrong. And that is being called, hopefully from just two places. This is one and this is the other one, right? So I guess we never get here. Poise Bunny, you like to sleep while listening to my stream. Are you going to lay awake in bed? Script updating now. Yeah. Construct an uninitialized descriptor update info required for use in task in a task to task DQ will move and assign it shortly after to make it extra complex. So this should be uninitialized, like it said. And then the move assignment. Oh my god. Did it say move assignment? Move assign. Where's my operator equals there? Yeah, well, I think I'm just going to put this and the diff. This must be in this constructor. It's the only other constructor, which is currently empty. So let's just copy this. I take back that I don't make mistakes and that I'm not stupid, but you know that was a joke, right? Because these are really stupid things. I non-stop do stupid things. Owning factory is that, yeah, okay, blah, blah, blah. So now this one has it. And then after being constructed, we will also get a destructor then. But now it's possible that theoretically, it is possible that this is being constructed. And then we're destructuring it without ever assigning it. That would not be nice, right? So a default constructed, then I have yeah, well then we cannot even decode it because the factory index would be undefined. So at most we would crash if that happens, but I guess I can test it. If that's undefined, then we just don't do it, because that would be a default constructor thing. Yeah, not really. I'm also going to set it back to undefined, I think, whenever I move objects. So this can definitely happen. And I don't think I have to do that anymore, right? Just do it. Yeah, because if you get here, then the factory index is never going to be undefined. I mean, it definitely should not be, because we just passed it here. But maybe I should, you know, make the code a little bit more equal. Yeah, and then when we move stuff, now, yeah, I mean, now we don't want the destructor to call that function anymore. So I really have to change this into setting that factory ID to 0. I cannot access it. I have an accessor, but I cannot reset it. Here's the factory index. I want to set that to undefined, but yeah, there's no reset here. I think I'll just use the existing thing here. We do have operator equals. So I can set it equal to a default constructed object. I hope it can guess what I mean here, but if there is only a single operator, I think that should work, because it's not explicit, this one. Destructor. Yeah, and now we have the same thing for the operator here. So oops, I'm making a mistake here, right? That is the right hand side then, of course. So after moving the right hand side to this object, then also the destructing the right hand side should have not do any calls anymore. This kind of assumes that we assigned to something that wasn't set already. In which case I could use swap here. But swap would give the wrong message, I think. It's probably better to just explicitly set it to reset it and at most test that it is actually not overriding anything. Could add an assert here for the test that the factory characteristic ID or rather the factory ID is undefined at this point, but hell it is. I'm not even going to add an assert for that. Expected blah. Okay, that's probably a typo. A typo is more like you hit the wrong key, right? But it starts to live its own life. Typo now more or less means a trivial error. Not really of the bug kind, but more of a stupid oversight. Okay, it doesn't even compile. Kind of errors. But maybe it's just me who is using a typo in that sense. I don't know. And it compiles and it works, of course. Yeah, it works. Now, should we still look at the debug output now? I guess. Try to file. And then let's grab for the call to descriptor set update. Not very exciting. And it's only one pipeline doing this, which I guess makes sense. The other one should use the cached version of this. Okay, so it calls start, and then we have one texture, start and updated, and the other texture, start and updated. And then we do the update between quotes that matches this first start. So it's exactly what I want to see. But yeah, if it works in under exotic circumstances, we'll never know, I guess. But I think it does. You know, I really try to take care of that it works under stress conditions, as it were. Yeah, I think I'm done with this. So diff, one more look at it. This is no longer required, so this fix me is now fixed. This is what I was working on. Remove this fix me. So let's kill it. This is the last real big fix me. When I'm done with this, then you could almost say that it's finished. The engine, as it were. Well, that's exaggerated, but then I did wrote really all the code that is required to say write a tutorial on Vulkan. Okay, it's a wrong name. So it's a descriptor update, apparently. Or am I wrong? I call this descriptor update. As in a single descriptor inside a descriptor set. That's what it is, isn't it? I think that's what it is. Let's update descriptor sets. Yeah, it's called update descriptor sets then. Okay. So then why am I calling it here descriptor update info? Because it only contains information, aka info, yes, on the single descriptor of a descriptor set. I suppose. But I mean, I really don't like it that this is called descriptor update, and then here we call descriptor set update start. Yeah. Yeah, shall I print this at all? It's hardly needed, I think. I mean, if it works, then Assuming it just works now, then it really doesn't add much, I think. Although it would be nice to know that we are inside this function when the signal is being done. Yeah. I could at least print the value of the counter. Why am I using a size type for this? Yeah, and then the latter one, the last one is going to print. Well, this going to call signal. Yeah, unknown condition. I've got to fix that one. Where did I do that? Just a single line. Well, so this one is not added to nobody knows. That's a state string, sorry. I need the condition string implementation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I have all of them. Except this one. Ja, die diff maar again. Ding ding. Now with conditions implementation. And well, printing this stuff. Failure. They locked me out of GitHub. What's going on? No, probably Microsoft took over GitHub because it got an error. A really weird error. I want to see that it arrived correctly. 1 minute ago. Oké, dan is het die werkt. It arrived. Oh, really? Okay, I was just bored. Hey, you got to laugh again. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 left from 2023. Yeah. I hate fixing fix-me's, really. I don't even understand the comment. Well, I understand once you run into this assert, remove it. I understand that part. But then check that the array data is added in the inner loop. Inner loop? Which inner loop? Update descriptor sets. Nope, not getting it. Is one of the other fix me's inside this same function? That one looks like it. Yep. Does add fragment shader every ever have such vectors? Difficult questions. I think I'm gonna take a break. I don't feel like thinking about this at the moment. What was it saying here? Oh, that typo. Yeah, okay, let's take a break. What else do I want to do? I have to look at the stock market again. Also nothing to see, of course. Let me quick have a look there, which means that I have to... what is it called? Circumvent my security measure. That I can't do that while having OBS running. There we are, plus 275. That's less than... Oh, wait. I'm almost... Oh my god, almost. Do I want to buy it? Let's not buy it. I just... Whoa, like 2 seconds before I would buy it. And now I'm gonna have regrets. Well, 1 second before I bought it, I think. Am I going to have regrets or not? I think I might have regrets. Should I add it back? Come on, higher. Yes, it's higher. But I don't know how long to wait. I think I still want to sell. Sorry guys. Okay, I'm gonna stop the stream, okay, because I'll have to